Inspired talks of Swami Vivekananda. Namashri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Sachit Sukha Swarupaya Swami Netapaharine. Swamiji had been giving a very good perspective on yoga. Those of you who have not listened to Raj Yoga talks can get a very clear picture of what yoga is in just one page, provided you can understand. Just to remind you, life is all about knowledge. No one can deny that. From the day that a baby is born, baby keeps on acquiring knowledge. As he grows or she grows, gains more knowledge. Then she goes to a school and to a college and then keeps on discovering more and more. What's the meaning of discovering more and more? Right, to find new things. Very often this is criticized as running after novelty, the way kids get bored by their old toys. No. Knowledge is my birthright. Knowledge is my divine right. I am here in this world to gain knowledge. Do you know why we get bored? Do you know why we find certain work extremely repetitive? Do you know why we get depressed doing the same thing again, again, and again? Because knowledge stops. When learning stops, when you are not learning new things from whatever you do, you are heading for trouble. You will get bored. In extreme cases, you might get depressed. But you cannot change your job every day, isn't it? Nowadays, you'll find in the corporate world, people keep changing their jobs. But there has to be an end to it. And maybe a time will come when people may not be allowed to change so many jobs. How do you keep yourself mentally active, agile? By learning something new. My dear listeners, whatever work you might be doing, in whatever job you might be trapped in a hopelessly repetitive job. Even we monks, we do repetitive job. But that boredom has to be removed, because if you don't remove boredom from your life, you are going against the mainstream of life, because mainstream of life is about knowledge, about learning. If you're not learning something new every day, know that you're inviting trouble for yourself. You're inviting boredom, consequently depression. Many years ago, maybe 25, 30 years ago, I was passing through such a phase. This might sound a bit personal, but then this is very interesting. And I was very lucky to have very good teachers in my life. Not one, not two, not three, many. And I was quite close to them. I still remember one of these greats, Srimad Swami Prabhanandaji Maharaj. He loved me a lot. He loves me still a lot. He's now vice president of the Ramakrishna Mission. And I learned a lot from him. I've been telling him repeatedly that I'm bored, I'm getting bored. And in one of his letters, he wrote to me that you don't realize that you're moving towards severe depression. And Change your way, otherwise, you will be in trouble. And he meant it because he was a man of few words. He's a man of few words. Then slowly I entered into writing. Who wants depression? Definitely not a monk. But you have to keep exploring. You need to have knowledge. Even those who meditate, they're exploring newer layers of God. So when persons like greats like Newton and Einstein, they explored the universe, they explored physical universe, they came up with modern day physics. And similarly, there were great minds who had kind of made their made their journey inward. And they had also explored. They explored, they explored the very raison d'etre, the very purpose of existence. Those of you, in fact, practically every listener who is here must have studied a lot in his or her life. Naturally, without that, you cannot appreciate these talks. You remember well that when you were studying, you had to concentrate a lot, you had to focus a lot. And your guardians, your teachers must have told you to pay attention to what you study. So, knowledge is important. Next comes focus. This is what yoga is about, knowledge and focus, nothing else. Only that yoga stresses more on focus and says knowledge will reveal itself or by itself. When we are into learning in school and colleges, etc., the focus is more on knowledge. Concentration or focus is secondary because more than knowledge, we keep on acquiring information when we are in schools and colleges. A very interesting thing. If you think over it, you'll find this whole thing very fascinating. Why we change jobs? Because we have known whatever is there to be known. Why do we make new friends? We want to know more. Why we visit new places? Because we want to know more. But that is what a child also does. Adult is slightly different. On the one hand, there is the exploration of knowledge. On the other hand, there has to be a steadiness. And if you are making inward journey, then exploration of the external has to stop. It is with this purpose that we have this institution of marriages. Otherwise, you will keep on changing your partner just to explore. That's not permitted. Because the ultimate goal, because marriage is not only a social institution, it's a religious institution, and the purpose is that you need to draw a line somewhere and say, the inward journey begins now. From the perspective. Swamiji has been discussing here exactly that. When your mind is concentrated, when you are focused, as you move inward, layers of existence reveal themselves. And as we mentioned earlier, and those of you who are more interested in it can listen to our talks on Raj Yoga. So Patanjali says that if you worship God, you can attain yoga. And here comes again Swamiji with his amazing statement. Ishwar is the Atman as seen or grasped by mind. This is again a very, very, very important statement. And this statement You don't come across this statement in our ancient scriptures. However, Sri Ramakrishna used to say this repeatedly. Yes, say this repeatedly. When your mind is focused, let's go back to yoga literature. When your mind becomes completely still, you are what you are, Atman. At other, whenever you are not in that state, you are what your mental wave is. Now think of that situation where there is only one single mental wave and is looking at this entire panorama. That is the divine. What do you see? God. What's the difference between a formless God and God with form? Mind. Formless God cannot be seen directly. You can be one with the formless. You cannot know the formless. But you can know God with form because mind is the intervening medium. And that is why we have so many religions. We have so many religions because people who are talking about religion, they're mostly talking about personal God. With due respect to people who think that they are the worshippers of formless God. Formless God cannot have a worshipper. Yoga says, Upanishads say that ultimate truth is Atman. What is Atman? Pure consciousness. Being consciousness, it is not limited in space or time. And being consciousness, that means not being physical, means it is one alone. And since there is no one to know it, you cannot even say that it is one alone. And that is why the term used is Advaita. And there is no one to say that it is one alone. These are very simple arguments. But when that one alone, that is pure consciousness, when that Advaita is looked at by the mind, it now appears as God. Your mind being different from my mind, you will see a different God and I'll see a different God. Believe me, my dear listeners, those who are killing in the name of religion, those who believe in monotheistic God, one God to rule all the other gods, and one God to end all the other gods, how hopelessly mistaken they are, you cannot believe. You cannot imagine. Without Hindu religion, without these fundamental concepts of Hindu religion, we'll be fighting like dogs. We'll just be attacking and fighting like dogs. Hindu religion alone has the message of peace because it's very clear. See, we are not discussing something that cannot be proved. We are not discussing something which doesn't have a tradition. We don't claim that we had one of the sages who had seen it and we believe that in that, and you you cannot know that, etc. No, it's not that one sage saw it. Many sages have experienced the same thing. Many sages have said the same thing, and they say that you too can do it. When? Here and now. You don't have to die to go to the heaven. Dear listeners, Hindu religion is not only the most powerful religion in the world, it is not only encyclopedic in character, it is also the life saving religion for the world. Either the world accepts these values or goes on killing each other. Swamiji says, his name, that means his highest name is Om. Swamiji adds highest because in the original sutra, Tasya Vachak Pranava, there is not the expression highest. Because when Patanjali had been codifying yoga, this concept of this god and that god was not there, so he didn't care. But today we know in Hinduism alone we have so many gods. We have Ram, we have Krishna, and we have Shiva, we have Kartik, we have Ganesh, we have. And when you take other religions, more names are added. Of course, the followers of Ram and followers of Krishna do not fight, but followers of this god and that god coming from the Middle East, they keep on fighting, they keep on killing. So, which name is the correct name? Om. Why Om is the best? I'll advise you to listen to our Mandukya Karika talks. There you will see we have discussed how the three letters Om represent the three states of existence and how the silence that follows Om is equivalent to the formless. So it will be a good idea if you listen to that talk, and we need not present the entire thing in brief. And of course, we have been discussing why Om is the best name of God, and we have mentioned it many times. We are not repeating it here. Something to do with names and objects. Both objects and names, they're just ideas to the mind. We have explained it many times, and you can listen to Mandukya Karika. So repeat it, meditate on it, and think of all its wonderful nature and attributes. Think of Omkar, think of Ishvara. Swamiji beautifully says, so repeat it. Repeat the name of God. Just repeat whatever name you have got through, say, family tradition or through the tradition of Guru and Shishya, Guru disciple. Meditate on it. See, mere repetition doesn't work. Meditate, meditate, meditate. Think of all its wonderful nature and attributes of God. Because God and Om, they are one and the same. When you talk of, say, Sri Rama, certain image floats in your mind. But when you say Sri Krishna, some different image floats in. Nothing wrong with it. That's your chosen ideal. However, when you say Om, it is no more limited in time and space. That's why Om is the best name of God. Repeating the Om continually is the only true worship. It's not a word, it is God Himself. These things we have explained in Mandukya Karika talks, Mandukya Upanishad and Karika. If you are interested, you can listen to those talks. See, nowadays there is this tendency of teachers to oversimplify things. Simplification of something is always good, but taking it to the level of being simplistic is not good, because people then get wrong notions. Swami Vivekananda once said, Puranas were created by lesser intellects. It's a very interesting thing. Lesser intellects. The Upanishads are by the great talents, great intellects. And so the Upanishads cannot be understood by all. What the authors of the Puranas did was they simplified things. The truths of the Upanishad were simplified and presented as Puranic stories. The problem arising out of it was that people, I mean Hindus and people of Indian subcontinent, that means those who were practicing Hindu religion, took those stories as true, as being final. The young generation of today keep on asking thousand questions. And they can just go on asking questions. There's no end to it. Just like a kid exploring the world new. Keeps on asking questions, thousands of questions. And parents get vexed. Why? So nowadays, kids, particularly those living in America, England, I mean Indian kids, they keep on asking thousand things. So why Durga has 10 arms and Kali has only 2 arms, 4 arms, just like that. So these are Puranic creations. So a simplistic presentation when you are trying to present things in a very simple way. And secondly, when you are trying to justify the Puranic stories, it means you're doing a great disservice. Because if you have to simplify things, talk about Ramayana, talk about Mahabharata, talk about Puran, nothing wrong with it. But when you're talking about the Upanishads, you must be very serious about it. And it must be given only to the very serious ones. Repeating the Om continually is the only true worship. You really think that lesser intellects can understand that? I don't think so. Because it's not God. It's not a word, it's God Himself. To understand that Om is God Himself, please listen to our talks on Manduki Karika. You'll understand why. Swamiji is saying things here in a very simple way because later on he was to deliver a full talk on Raj Yoga, and that's recorded in the complete works as Raj Yoga, and is the best book on Raj Yoga that you can come across. Again, Swamiji comes with something amazing. Religion gives you nothing new. It only takes up obstacles and lets you see yourself. You see how God, yourself, Om, these are one and the same thing. It's a beautiful thing. Just beautiful. And religion gives you nothing new. It only takes off obstacles. Now, if you look at the world of religions, you'll find that there are two kinds of religions. One, where you become something. Second, where you be. You are what you are. Every religion that talks about bhakti, unknown to them, without understanding, they ask their devotees to become something. It's like raw clay. It is to be put in a mold so that it can be given a shape. Worse, they promise to give you something new. They say that if you're a good Christian, that means if you do these things, in which practice of idealism is less, practice of ethics is more. I'm not talking about Christianity in general because they were greats, Christian saints. In general, we are talking about a general thing. In general, first, you have to become something. Then you are promise of something new, you go to the heaven. True Hindu religion, that Hindu religion at the highest, doesn't talk about it. It says there are impurities accumulated. Remove those impurities, and you will see that you don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to attain anything. You will be what you are. So, there's a fundamental difference between Hindu dharma and other dharma. Fundamental difference. So, all religions are never true. They can never be true. Other religions will always talk about becoming something and going somewhere. Hindu religion will always say going nowhere and becoming nothing, just being. Just to break a sentence. Mr. Ashish Mandal is বাংলা হলে ভালো বুঝতে পারি মহারাজ Ashish Mandal, we have 109 talks, 109 খানা talk আছে on this topic, Swamiji Dev Bani. And Ashish Mandal মহাশয় আরেকটা কথা বলি, কোথাও যখন কোনো কথা বলেন আগে একটু রিসার্চ করে নেবেন. This habit of barging in somewhere and showing off your knowledge or showing off your ignorance, not a good thing. Mr. Ashish Mandal, আশা করি আপনি বুঝেছেন. আমাদের প্লে লিস্টে দেখবেন স্বামীজি দেববাণী আছে 109 খানা টক, ওইটাই এখন ইংলিশে দেওয়া হচ্ছে. So I hope this idea is clear. As God, Atman, Om. You don't gain something new. You then become what you have been all along. You being pure consciousness, you never lose your nature. You never lose your character. Never, never, never. You think you have lost it. I heard one story about Michelangelo. I don't know how far true it is that once he carved a beautiful statue, and when someone complimented, he said, "Look, I didn't carve it out. The statue was already inside it. I just removed, chipped away the extra stone that was there." Then there is this famous sculptor by Rodin, thinking man of Paris, he made. The granite, the stone piece was of such strange shape that no sculptor dared do anything on it. But Rodin, he could see the statue that was within it. And he chipped away. And there's that famous statue sitting like this. This is what happens. But there is chipping away. Here is not even chipping away. Shankaracharya says very beautifully, if you keep a piece of sandal with water for a long time, it acquires some foul smell. Just rub it. Foul smell goes away. Its natural fragrance comes out. This happens with everything in life. Naturalness goes away. Why? Because you have been in the company of the wrong. You have been in bad company. So how to do it? When you start doing it, you find there are many obstacles. Once again, I will remind you, please listen to our Raj Yoga talks. There, these things have been discussed in detail. Sickness is the first greatest obstacle. A healthy body is the best instrument. There is melancholy. Melancholy is an almost insuperable barrier. See, a very strange thing about our life. In life, the good comes in one color, sorrow comes in Eastman color, multicolor. This is a book by Taylor. Taylor. He wrote, he's a very good historian, or maybe journalist. And he writes, he wrote one book, 1939, A People's History of Second World War. So this gentleman went out interviewing people about Second World War. And he narrates it that, see, is in the nature of is in the nature of human mind. Even if you, for example, all of you may have a very good friend with whom you have lived for maybe 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. You don't remember all the good things. But if perchance he said something nasty, something unpleasant, something vitriolic, you'll remember forever. And in detail, I have had the occasion of meeting many people who go on talking about. I remember every detail of what you said. I remember every word, every expression. Why? Because sorrow comes in vivid colors. Pleasantness comes in black and white. It's all white. And we get bored by black and white. We get bored by goodness. Because it is insipid. Goodness is insipid. We need colors. We want colors. So we invite sorrow on ourselves. Because it comes in vivid colors. And then we keep on dwelling on that because you cannot dwell on good things. It's not possible. Mind is not made that way. If you have to dwell on good things, the only thing on which you can dwell is your true nature, that is Atman. And when there is nothing, when there is no way that you can dwell on something sorrowful, you go and read some tragic stories, you go and watch some tragic plays, you go and watch some tragic movie. Because it appears so colorful. When I was growing up in my village, actually I studied in boarding schools, but my roots were in a village. If they wanted to praise some drama, if they wanted to praise some literary work, and if they wanted to praise some movie, which was occasional, maybe some villager would see some movie maybe once a year. Now, just to describe how good that presentation is, literature, play, oh, it's dardanak. Dardanak. Dardanak means painful, so sorrowful, tear jerker. This is melancholy. Melancholy is the greatest enemy in spiritual practices. If you have dark mood, if you are prone to sorrow, if you are prone to desperations, well, in that case, spiritual growth is distant for you. Distant. Mind needs to remain as fresh as a 5-year-old kid. 5-year-old kid. He commits some mischief and then maybe is scolded. Becomes upset. For how long? For 2 minutes, 5 minutes. He's back to his bubbly best. Unless you're full of enthusiasm all the time, Unless you're bubbling with joy, you cannot, you just cannot advance in spiritual life. Definitely not in yoga, because spiritual practices, including yoga, require tremendous amount of inner energies. Tremendous amount. And emotions, which include sorrow, they're a great drainage on your resources. So they must be plugged. And pleasantness, which comes basically in black and white, maybe monochrome. When your life is monochrome, it only means that your energy is well preserved. Without that, you cannot hope to progress in spiritual life. If you are given to emotions, particularly to sorrow, to melancholy, no, you cannot progress in spiritual life. If you have once known Brahman, never after can you be melancholy. Once you have known the truth, you will not be melancholic ever, ever. Doubt, want of perseverance, mistaken ideas are other obstacles. Now, these we have discussed in Raj Yoga talks, so we are not unnecessarily explaining it. Then Swamiji talks about Kundalini Shakti, where he explains when you breathe in and you hold the breath, either inside or when you breathe out, outside. So we have Purak. Purak is when you take inside, and then there is Rechak when you are throwing out, exhaling, out breathing. Purak, Rechak, and Kumbhak when you hold your breath. When you regulate Rechak, Purak, Kumbhak, and when you have Rechak, Purak, Kumbhak, you regulate. And this must be done under the guidance of a competent teacher. And believe me, most teachers are incompetent. Best thing, best thing for a common man is not to go for Kumbhak, just to practice Rechak and Purak. Inhaling and exhaling in a rhythm. So supposing you inhale counting up to 20, exhale counting up to 20, or you can inhale counting up to 10 and exhale counting up to 20. That itself will calm your mind. Swamiji begins with pranas are subtle energy sources of motion, and then he says there are 10 in all. Now these things also we have mentioned in passing in Raju. That's not really very important for us. Just the idea that unless you coordinate your energies working within your system, unless they are completely in phase, as a physics term, in phase, every energy, each of these energies must be in phase. And that is when they produce results. Most of the time, we are not in phase. You will see that your inhaling and exhaling, they are not regular. Breathing is not regular. And the energy is within you. We are not talking about some serious, supposing somebody has an accident, serious accident. His hand gets broken, his leg gets broken. That's a different thing. But most of the diseases that we have, these are because of irregularity of prana. From there, we come to the Guru is a conveyance in which the spiritual influence is brought to you. So we discussed God, we discussed Om, now Guru. Guru is a conveyance. Spiritual influence comes to you from a proper Guru. Being a monk of the Ramakrishna mission, I naturally have seen thousands of devotees coming to our headquarters at Belur Math or here and there. I don't mean to hurt their sentiments, but most of them are just emotional. Just emotional. Remember, there is no place for emotion in spirituality. Emotions are utilized only to synchronize your energy. Emotions are utilized only to keep enthusiasm within you and it's meant to take you forward. Emotions must not be shown. And if the emotions get expressed through your body, know that there is something wrong with your spiritual life. Swamiji explains the importance of Guru, says, anyone can teach. So see, I'm not a teacher minded. I'm just explaining. No, when people say you are an Acharya or this is nothing, it's all nonsense. I have a job to do. Being a monk of the Ramakrishna mission, I've been instructed to do certain job. I have done different kind of job at different points of time. So I am not a teacher, I am not a guru. Anyone can teach. No wonder I'm teaching. What I mean to say that I'm just reading out these passages and explaining the way I have understood. But the spirit must be passed on by the guru to the shishya. What's the difference between guru and acharya? Acharya teaches, guru passes the spirit of God. In Manusmriti also, Manusmriti, a clear distinction between acharya and guru has been made. Acharya is somebody who teaches you. In earlier times, say 3000 years ago, boys of the upper caste, they used to go to learn the Vedas. They were known as acharyas. We have teachers in schools who teach us physical sciences. Just like that, when you study Vedas, any such related subject, the teacher is an acharya. And we mistakenly think that they are gurus. No, they are not. Why would a guru come on television and internet and try to preach unless he wants popularity? Or maybe it is his job. Then that's a different thing. But job means he has to belong to some organization which has given him that responsibility. Whether or not that, whether you are doing on your own or you have been instructed to do that job, Acharya, because Guru may or may not teach, but Guru will always pass on the Spirit of God. Once you meet your Guru, once you have been with your Guru, you realize that your spiritual journey has begun. But mind it, just to caution you, it's not that the moment you meet your Guru and get mantra and you will think that your journey has begun. You realize it after years that, okay, fine. That was the turning point for me. That's when your journey had begun. See, there's something very funny. I'm sure you will enjoy it. Before I came to Kolkata, I had not seen a local train. I had no idea about what local trains are. But I just heard there are local trains in Kolkata and they run very fast, etc. So one of my earlier memories of, I had seen these local trains. I had seen how they run. And I remember once distinctly that uh, We were at a station. Our train started. We barely realized that the train has started moving. I was in an express train. And there was a local train that also started. And local trains can pick up speed very fast. And the train started moving very, very, very fast. And I could clearly feel that I am going backward. I didn't even realize that our train had started moving. Somehow mind was so obsessed with the other train. And the typical sound of the local train, gone. And then I found that, okay, fine, we are also moving. Maybe after some time, because they had 10, 12 or whatever number of coaches. The platform had started receding for us, and the train was going slowly and slowly. But it was an express train. And roughly 100 kilometers from Howrah, there are four tracks. That means two trains can run parallel. And then suddenly we could see the last coach of the earlier train, the local train. And slowly we started gaining speed. In a matter of minutes, the express train had thoroughly overshot this local train. When you get the right guru, when you get the right guru, your journey begins. But you feel as if you're going backward. And you may feel that others are moving forward very rapidly, particularly those who belong to some popular cult and some popular guru. But no, yours is an express train, yours is a heavy train, moving very slowly. And soon you will realize that the other trains, they just cannot match your speed. Allow me a minute's interruption. My computer is showing that connection is unstable. Could you please, someone just write if you are able to listen to this talk? Dear listeners, someone just write if you are able to listen to my talk. Oh, okay. Thank you. Because it's showing connection is unstable. This exactly is what Guru does. He puts you in an express train. Initially you cannot feel, but soon you realize it. You are on an express train. Passes on the spirit. Guru passes on the spirit. And it will fructify. The spirit has. Seed has fallen. And this is actually accepted by law in India. That means, the relationship between Shishya is that of brotherhood, and this is actually accepted by law in India. Swamiji in passing makes this, just to those of you who may not be knowing, the succession law in India goes through two channels. One is you acquire the wealth of your father, and second one is you acquire the wealth of your guru. And guru's wealth is equally distributed amongst the disciples, his disciples. And sometimes very sad. Sometimes the guru has been even poisoned by disciples who are after the wealth. There are such cases, different places. So it's actually accepted by law in India, but in other places, no, it's not accepted. In other countries, the guru passes the thought power, the mantra that he has received from those before him. In Sufi tradition, this is known as silsila tradition, silsila. And nothing can be done without a guru. So the importance of guru is mentioned in yoga philosophy. This tradition of guru is coming from the Vedic times, through the Upanishadic times, and it continues. In India, guru is a very important thing. And one very important aspect of being a Hindu, those of you might have read my book, small book, it's a very small book, The Hindu Way. And I keep requesting people that you should read. That book is meant for people who do not have a very clear picture about Hindu religion, the Hindu way. There are certain beliefs, there are certain acceptances. One of them is acceptance of Guru. If you are a true Hindu, if you are a practicing Hindu, you must have a Guru. It's a must. If you are a Catholic, you must believe in church. If you are a Muslim, you must have certain beliefs, certain practices. If you are a Hindu, you must have a Guru. I don't mean Guru who is teaching all this. Guru who belongs to a tradition, who gives you a mantra, and through which mantra you can make your spiritual journey. That's very important in Hindu religion. In fact, great danger, and nothing can be done without a guru, Swamiji says, and then he continues. In fact, great danger ensues. If you don't have a guru and a competent guru, there will be a serious problem. You can be in serious trouble. You don't even know that you are going on the wrong path. So, Istik Ashraf, when you are coming on YouTube, you please just check our YouTube channel, go to About, and there you will find the detail. Isn't it surprising that even in the cyber age, people are too careless, people are too lazy, they don't even want to find out. And you just have to give a click, you don't even have to labor hard. But no, lazy that we Indians are. We don't even check the channel. And these yoga practices had lead to lust. This is the most dangerous thing. If you are into spiritual practices, lust has to come. And there's every possibility that it will drown you. Take my word. Sri Ramakrishna had this problem, Swami Vivekananda had this problem, and they overcame with their sheer willpower. Spiritual practices and lust are directly related. I have heard from many senior monks, extremely respectable senior monks, how they were attacked by lust and kind of things they had to undergo because of lust. You are doing spiritual practices and you don't have lust, there's something wrong with your spiritual practices. This may sound extremely, abrupt, but that is the fact. It is truth. And if there is no guru, things will go wrong with you. And that's why you'll find that most of these modern gurus in India, they're surrounded by wealth and women. They're already completely lost. They don't have a guru. They went for spiritual practices without proper guide. And they don't even realize that they're into lust. And that's why very often you come across stories of scandals of this Mahatma, that Mahatma. And very often people think, oh my God, to whom we had owed our allegiance. Nothing, perfectly all right. If there is a scandal, it only means that poor fellow, he was into spiritual practices. But because he didn't have proper guidance, he got trapped. So, if there is a Guru, Swamiji says, this seldom happens. Guru takes care of it. He saves you from that. And then relating the entire thing, each Easter has a mantra. Now, this is where some people of other religions, they really don't realize that we began with Atman and mind. When Atman is looked at by the mind, through a particular mind, is God. He is your Easter. So every Easter will have a different mantra. Shiva will have a different mantra. Sri Ramakrishna will have a different mantra. Ganesh will have a different mantra. Mahavir Hanuman will have a different mantra. Obviously, because him is different. The Easter is the ideal peculiar to the particular worshipper because of the mindset and because Guru says that. The mantra is the external word to express it. Whenever you get a mantra, it only means that your spiritual tendencies are towards that. And there's a spiritual ideal, and there is a verbal representation of it. Tantra, which is a very important system of spiritual outlook, they made a science out of it. So there's mantra, yantra, tantra. Yantra is schematic diagram of a deity. Mantra is a schematic diagram of the verbal verbal representation of God. Schematic and verbal. And from there comes Pratima. Pratima Puja that we see. Who knows how Shiva looked? Is the influence of Tantra. Because Tantra wants these three things. There has to be a verbal representation, there has to be a schematic representation, and there has to be a physical representation. So very often when people attack Hindu religion for idol worship, they don't realize where from this exactly has come. These things help you in spiritual growth. And anything that helps you in spiritual growth, if it doesn't go against the law, if it doesn't go against the social ethics, social mores, it's perfectly all right. Nothing wrong with it. And constant repetition of the word helps to fix the ideal firmly in the mind. See, people talk about meditation without realizing that meditation meditation does not come easily. For meditation to come, for meditation to become easy, you have to do at least 10,000 to 15,000 repetition of mantra jap a day for at least 6 months to 1 year. Less than that, it doesn't work. It is better to sit in front of your chosen Ishta, that is in front of a photograph or in front of a statue, and keep on praying. Unfortunately, meditation carries a glamour about it. So people keep on talking about meditation, meditation, meditation. Uh, every time people talk about meditation, I realize that he really doesn't yet have the grasp of the spiritual world. First is prayer, then comes mantra japa, repetition, and then comes meditation. Yoga takes you exactly through these process. And Swamiji concludes with this method of worship prevails among religious devotees all over India. Now, those of you who have some idea about religious life and spiritual life in India, or maybe in Nepal too, and in Bangladesh too, and amongst the Hindus who are in other countries, this thing where you have Om, where you have a mantra name, where you have a chosen deity, where there is a form, These are the stepping stones that you require. If you keep on repeating the name, you become fit for meditation. Once you go for meditation, knowledge, as we had started with this idea of knowledge, how we acquire knowledge, and how when we don't acquire knowledge, we get bored. This is the secret to knowledge, and this is the secret to freedom. Thank you.